Here to share with you today about YAIJ. So just before I pass it over, Carolyn, I'll just give a little bit of background. So it's a Black youth-led collective of Black and racialized neurodiverse youth and adults with and without intellectual disabilities and allies. So their mission really is to create and support Afro-centered safe spaces, and one initiative is YAIJ clubs in their schools. So these clubs offer students opportunities to be themselves, build authentic friendships, share interests, and learn more about each other. So that is what Carolyn is here to speak with you today about, and she is a mom, author, educator, registered nurse, and educator source, there's a B, researcher. Welcome, Carolyn, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate being here, and thank you for welcoming us and giving us the opportunity to talk about YAIJ. And yeah, so we're pretty much a youth-led collaborative, and you know our work throughout Canada has really been exposing and providing opportunities to youth, especially those who have intellectual disabilities. So neurodiversity is kind of a larger umbrella, and intellectual disability is a little bit more specific. We work a lot with special education educators. We work with community groups as well. And yeah, it really is about access and space and you know, just feeling like you can be yourself and that you're around people who understand you and get you. I often use this quote, it's the torture of being the unseen object and the constantly observed subject. This is by Amiri Baraka. And quite often the youth that we work with talk about that duality, right? So especially in the classroom, how sometimes it can be really difficult because they go in and out of this, you know, hyper observation and then this, you know, lack of observation in the classroom. Yeah, so that speaks to a lot of the youth that we work with. I won't go over the overview because you did such a good job, but I will talk a little bit about the mission in terms of what we focus on. So beyond the YAIJ school clubs, we also focus on technology, housing, entrepreneurship. So right now we have an entrepreneurial program, again, looking at, you know, Black and racialized young people and what do they want to do with their life, especially with the gig economy getting so big. Like, how can they make and create meaningful work for themselves, make a living? Unfortunately, people with disabilities are statistically at a higher risk for unemployment and underemployment. And so that has obviously a big impact on their trajectories. And with students who we work with who are often in special education, their career trajectories are usually quite disconnected from what they love, what they enjoy, what they like to express. And so we want to really kind of poke some holes in that. So we envision spaces where youth and young adults have their needs met, but also that their dreams are supported. So we're looking at meaningful conversations about what are your dreams, what do you want to do, how can we make that happen, and how to envision those dreams in a variety of different ways. And these are some of the values that are very central to us. Person-centeredness, so sometimes, for example, people who are autistic, students who are autistic, sometimes they self-identify as being an autistic person, and others say, no, I'm a person with autism. So we really believe that however someone self-identifies, whatever their preference is, that's kind of what we're going with. So that's what person-centered language means. Self-empowerment, respect, pretty self-explanatory. Collaboration, we love to work with schools, we love to work with other organizations, we love to work with other youth and often do. Access and opportunity, I kind of mentioned that in the beginning, and meaningful connections. One of the things about our YAIJ clubs is we open space for conversations about justice and what that means. And so we may not use fancy schmancy words and terms, but we do talk a lot about, you know, different issues that kind of catch the students' attention, or issues that are kind of relevant to what's happening in their life or what's happening in their neighborhoods. And so that's another, you know, reason why these spaces and these clubs are so incredibly important. This is just an overview of our wheelhouse. right? So a lot of programming that we do is around financial literacy, financial protection. A lot of the youth that we work with are unfortunately quite vulnerable to being taken advantage of on the internet, financially, and a lot of other different ways. Cultural connections and supportive relationships, that's a big part of the clubs as well. So a lot of the youth that we work with and a lot of the students that kind of come to us and are interested in the clubs are disconnected because they're quite isolated at school. They don't have friends, they don't have strong friendships or networks. And so the piece about cultural connections is quite important, and having supportive relationships. Again, people around you that kind of get who you are, and you know, if you have quirks, it's all good, it's okay. Self-advocacy, we do a lot of that as well in our clubs. Education, employment, and entrepreneurship, I talked about that, and then technology. So one of the things that we have been kind of talking about and discussing is, you know, what will AI look like for the next few generations and for students coming up? Like, so how does AI impact you? And as a person who is neurodiverse, what do you want to see? What do you want to, how would AI be helpful? And how can it be used as a positive and empowering tool? Generally speaking, this is kind of how we center ourselves. So we are a Black-led youth collective of young people or students who are neurodiverse, and we serve Black and racialized youth who are neurodiverse, again, both with and without intellectual disabilities. And then, you know, kind of reaching out from there is kind of other youth and making strong peer connections. For example, we have a really strong peer support program called Peer Step. That too is connected to the YAIJ clubs because we have peers who are trained to support, so socially support students and are there for students. And so they've got this official training and understandings of how to support their peers. Of course, there's community and projects and research and that kind of thing.